Hello everybody, it is Callum from Grid Talk Global here, and today we are heading to Budapest for the 13th round of the F1 2024 calendar year. I'm here today to give you a big preview of the Hungarian Grand Prix and also give my predictions for the qualifying and the race. So, while we're on the topic, let's talk F1. So yes, it is now the Hungarian Grand Prix week and we are heading for the 13th round of this year so far, which means we are now just over a little way over the halfway point of the season. In the previous 3 races, we have had 3 different winners, ranging from Max Verstappen in Spain, George Russell in Austria, and Lewis Hamilton finally winning a race after 945 days at his home Grand Prix in Silverstone. But will we have another winner this weekend? There's been 6 winners so far this season. Could we see a shock result and see a new winner with someone like Oscar Piastri? Could Sergio Perez rise up the ranks and finally get a win this season? I'll let you know later in my predictions, but first, let's head to the preview. The Hungarian Grand Prix qualifying set to begin on the 20th of July between 3 and 4 pm. This includes qualifying 1, qualifying 2 and qualifying 3. Then the race is set to start at 2 p.m. UK time, so this is all in UK time. I'll leave a few different times on the screen so you can see where it might be in your country as well. But the race takes place obviously on Sunday, with qualifying taking place on Saturday. The track length is 4.381 kilometers long, or 2.722 miles long if you wanted to convert it into miles. This makes it one of the shorter F1 tracks on the circuit, just like Austria as well. There will be a total of 70 laps for the drivers to complete, and this includes 14 different corners as well. This makes it on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of how many corners are on an F1 track, with only Monza and Austria coming in below the Hungarian Grand Prix. The previous 5 winners of the Hungarian Grand Prix has been Max Verstappen in 2023 and 2022, Esteban Ocon getting a win and his only win so far in 2021 in a very wild and crazy race, which saw about 7 DNFs on the first corner, and then Lewis Hamilton picking up wins in 2020 and 2019 as well. This is the track as well that Lewis Hamilton seems to dominate at as well. He has 8 wins here at the circuit. Could he also tie his record this weekend and get 9 wins at a single circuit as well as Silverstone? We'll have to wait and see. The previous 5 pole sitters of this track has been Lewis Hamilton in 2023, George Russell in 2022, Lewis Hamilton in 2021 and 2020, and then Max Verstappen in 2019. So it seems to be a very Mercedes dominating track, even when they didn't have the fastest car in 22 or 23. However, in the last 5 races, the pole sitters only ever got 1 victory out of the previous 5 pole sitters. Is there a curse going on in the Hungarian Grand Prix with pole sitters? We'll have to wait and see again. Qualifying has also been very close to these previous years as well. 2021 was the biggest gap with 0.32 seconds between Lewis Hamilton and second place. But every other time between 2023, 2022, 2020 and 2019, there was only really a gap of 0.1 seconds roughly. So are we expecting another close qualifying? I think there will be too. This track is very different from the previous 3 tracks. Spain and Silverstone are a very high-speed corner track, whilst Austria is a very short circuit with bigger stops in between with the corners. The Hungarian Grand Prix is expected to have very slow corners, so expect some teams such as Ferrari, McLaren, Lewis Hamilton to all dominate here. Also include Max Verstappen in that, even though he really shouldn't be in the conversation. We know the Red Bull is very iffy when it comes to curbs and corner and slow cornered races this year, but it's Max Verstappen at the end of the day. I'm expecting him to come out and pull a pole position out of nowhere once again. There are 2 DRS zones at the Hungarian Grand Prix. One on the main straight and the other in the section between turn 1 and turn 2. These are pretty much the only overtaking opportunities at the Hungarian Grand Prix unless someone crashes, with last year only seeing 16 overtakes on track last year. And like I said, it requires drivers to drive on curves most likely, so expect some spins throughout the weekend between practice, qualifying and possibly in the races as well. The race is expected to be a 2 to 3 stopper in terms of tyre management. This is the graph last year, it shows the tyre management, mostly seeing a 3 stopper for everyone. The undercut last year was a very vital move to some drivers into getting some valuable points, so I'm expecting some strategies in terms of undercutting to be paid off here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. And I'm expecting an undercut to come into play because of the weather, which I'm going to talk about now. Budapest is experiencing some very hot weather right now, with it projected to hit the highs of 31 degrees during Saturday during qualifying and 33 degrees on Sunday during the race. It is some very hot temperatures, so I'm expecting tyre wear to be big during the Hungarian Grand Prix. It always is anyway, but I think it's going to be even more this weekend, so I'm expecting a 3 stopper from pretty much all drivers. I'm also expecting pretty much everyone to use strictly the medium and hard hard tyres. I think the soft tyres are just going to wear off too fast, so expect many medium and hard tyres strategies to come into play during the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now that is the preview over with, let's head to my predictions. So there's different categories that I'm going to talk about with my predictions, and I've got them next to me here, but they are the pole sitter, the rest of the top 3 for qualifying, the winner of the race, the rest of the top 5 for the race, the biggest disappointment in terms of driver and team, the biggest good surprise in terms of driver and team, and also one crazy prediction. So let's head to it. We've seen F1 be very close this year, so predictions could go one way or the other. One day I'm going to think this, one day I'm going to think that. But these are my predictions as of right now. They'll probably change before the race, but here we go. So, for pole position, I'm torn between a few drivers. Obviously, the McLaren should be very quick on this circuit. They've sorted out their slow speed cornering and have very good tyre management, so I'm expecting McLaren to be up there anyway. But I don't think it'll be in the McLaren getting the pole position this year. The person I'm going to go with is none other than Lewis Hamilton. This is the track that Lewis Hamilton thrives at, just like Silverstone. And last year, even though he had like the 3rd quickest car, he still managed to get a pole position from out of nowhere. Yes, he did finish 4th in the end of the race, but that 1 lap speed he has around Hungary is phenomenal. And with Mercedes getting better and better each weekend, it seems like, and with Hamilton also getting better and better with the car, I'm expecting him to have a great weekend at Hungary. So I'm expecting him to hit pole position. For the rest of the top 3 for qualifying, I'm actually going to go with Max Verstappen to get 2nd place. No matter what track it is, no matter how good or bad the car is, this guy always does phenomenal in qualifying. The reason why I'm not expecting him to get pole is because the curbs. We know the Red Bull is very weak when it comes to curbs, so I'm still going to go with Max 2nd just because of how good his qualifying performance is. And then 3rd place, I'm going to go with Lando Norris. I'm still expecting McLaren to be there or thereabouts this weekend. I don't think they're going to have the best weekend ever, but I'm expecting Lando Norris to put out a good result either way. Now, let's move on to the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Who's going to win in Budapest? Well, this year I'm actually going to go with the pole sitter himself, Lewis Hamilton, and he's going to tie his own record for the most wins at a single circuit, being 9. I think Lewis Hamilton's going to have a fantastic weekend this weekend. He did great in Silverstone, he's done great the last 4 races or so, and with Mercedes supposedly bringing an upgrade to the Hungarian Grand Prix, I'm expecting Lewis Hamilton to do fantastically here. He always does, and with a brilliant car behind him, might even be the number 1, if not number 2 car right now. I'm expecting great things from Lewis Hamilton. I'll be extremely disappointed if he doesn't get at least 1st or 2nd. In terms of the rest of the top 5, in terms of 5th spot, I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc. Ferrari seem to do well in slow speed corners races this year, so I'm expecting similar results. I don't think they'll be in contention for a fight for the win, but they could possibly be in contention for a podium spot, and I think Charles Leclerc is finally going to have a decent weekend after some very disappointing results in the last 4 Grand Prix. In 4th spot, I'm going to go with George Russell. George Russell has been very consistent this year, so I'm expecting him to have a great race this weekend. I think he's just going to miss out on podium, but bringing some valuable points back to the Mercedes team, possibly even fighting for the P3, P2 position in constructors sooner or later. In 3rd, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. I think along the whole race, I think Max is going to have a bit of issues with the curbs this time round. And that's where I think 2nd, Lando Norris will eventually overtake him at some point during the race. Lando Norris is known to have very good tyre management throughout the race. I know Max Verstappen is as well, but Lando's tyre management this year throughout most of the races has been phenomenal, apart from a bit in the Silverstone Grand Prix with the soft tyres. But with the medium and hard tyres, I'm expecting Lando Norris to really fly at points. So I'm expecting Max Verstappen to finish on the podium still, 3rd, and Lando Norris to finish 2nd. Once again, just missing out on that top spot. In terms of my biggest surprise, I'm actually going to go with Charles Leclerc. Ferrari have been so disappointing recently, and so has Charles Leclerc. In interviews, you can just see him just drop so much in terms of motivation. You know, he just doesn't even want to be there at points. But I'm expecting Charles Leclerc to bounce back this weekend, maybe fight for a podium in the slow speed corners where Ferrari seem to be doing quite well. So yeah, I'm going to go with my biggest surprise is going to be Charles Leclerc, and I really hope so for not only Ferrari's sake, but his own sake as well. In terms of my biggest disappointment, I'm going to go with Oscar Piastri. We know Oscar Piastri is a phenomenal talent. Very quick, very pacey, very good in qualifying, and overall a very good driver in general, but the one weakness he has is tyre management and tyre wear. And considering how hot it's going to be in Hungary and how much degradation there's going to be in the tyre wear, I think he's going to struggle this weekend quite a bit with tyres. He's getting better and better in terms of tyre management and showed it during the Silverstone Grand Prix. But considering how much heat there's going to be and how high the temperatures are, I'm expecting Oscar Piastri to be the biggest disappointment in terms of result. I'm really hoping that he proves me wrong and does well with his tyres and even fights for a podium, but I'm expecting a 6th, 7th finish for him this race. In terms of the biggest surprise for a team, I'm actually going to go with Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin are going to finish in those 7th to 10th positions and get some valuable points for the midfield battle, basically. Alonso usually does very well in slow speed circuits, and Lance Stroll seemingly on a decent bit of form recently. So hopefully the Aston Martin upgrades for once work, and hopefully they can get it over the line and pick up some valuable points in the midfield battle. My biggest disappointment for team is going to be Red Bull. I think this is going to be the breaking point for Perez. Helmut Marko has already said they're going to evaluate Perez during the summer break. And basically, he needs to do well these 2 races. Probably even get top 5 both races and qualified top 5 both races. But considering that Hungary is a very bad track for the Red Bull in general, I think he's going to struggle a lot. I'm expecting a Q2 appearance for Perez, but to be knocked out there and maybe fight for the lower positions, but nothing too crazy from Perez. That's why I'm going to go biggest disappointment, and also not a win for Max is basically disappointing in itself. Whenever Max doesn't get first, basically that's a disappointment for Red Bull, and a closer and making sure that their rivals get closer and closer to Red Bull. But I think this might be the last straw for Perez. He needs to get a good result, and I'm actually going to support him during the race. It's good. I see loads of hate for him, and an unacceptable thing happened at Goodwood where the interviewer basically said that Ricciardo and Max imagined those to his teammates right in front of Perez. Personally, that's completely unacceptable. Perez having a hard time as it is, and to do something like that when he's on a struggling bit of form is out of order, basically, I would say. In terms of my one crazy prediction, I've been back and forth between a few of them, but I'm going to go with that one Alpine driver gets into the points. Alpine have been all over the place this season, starting from tractor to finally picking up some points and looking like an absolute tractor again in Silverstone, with Gasly going out before the race even started and Ocon finishing 17th. They looked awful in Silverstone, but they seem to do quite well in slow speed corners and slow corner circuits, so I'm expecting one of the Alpines to get into the points. They don't have to rely on their powertrain as such to boost them along the straights, because there's only really one big straight along the Hungarian Grand Prix track. So my crazy prediction is that one of the Alpines will get into the points. And those are my predictions as well as the preview for the Hungarian Grand Prix. What do you think? Are you expecting a good race? I think it would be good in terms of strategy, in terms of tyre management, but I'm not expecting a lot of overtakes on the track. It's just not one of those tracks, unfortunately. But I think qualifying will be very good and very close in itself. And also, what do you think to my predictions? Have you got any other different predictions? Do you think my predictions are completely off? Or do you think they're actually good predictions? It'll be good to discuss with you guys in the comments below. But let's hope for a good race, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.